musical theatre for a very long time. Um, Ever since I was a child, for a couple years now. As all children, I really did not start out with the most appropriate of musical theatre. Granted, Hamilton was my first, being a kid in 2016. I mean, what was I going to do? However, after that, I got deep into Heathers and Les Mis, which honestly, I think now I reflect was probably quite a good starting point. Like not appropriate at all. If any like fucking 11-year-old came up to me today and was like, "My favorite musical is Heathers," I'd be like, "Where the fuck are your parents? Like, you can't do that." However, it was a really good introduction for me on complicated and sensitive topics that let me able to express them to myself in easier ways, something that wouldn't normally be addressed. For example, Les Mis, it was my first ever introduction to the idea of prostitutes, and it let me explore that idea with empathy and sympathy rather than something that I think many people see from the outset, which is just a slut, which, of course, is unfair, horrible bias, and also a lack of understanding of what's happening in the outside world. Musicals have played a massive role in my life over entertainment, understanding morals, me being able to nerd out for hours listening to Sideways videos. May his channel rest in peace. Oh, I don't actually know if he's dead. She's not uploaded for years. However, I myself have also been fortunate enough and lucky enough to be able to have seen quite a few musicals live. Whether they are local productions from my hometown, or whether or not I have been fortunate enough to see one or two on the West End. And I want to talk today about a trend that I've been noticing, in specifically across three musicals. Quick disclaimer: I cannot say the word phenomenon, so we'll thus be referring to it as a nomenon, and we are all going to live with that and try not to make fun of me because it's just how shit works. And I apologise for all the swearing as well. I am Scottish, it is part of my vocabulary. We will say all the fucks here and we will not be upset about it. If it helps, I'm going to keep the swearing to soft swearing, so probably just your plain fuck shit. You're welcome. Maybe a couple bitches. This nomenon that I've found, well, I've noticed, I shouldn't say I've found, because I guarantee I'm not going to be the first person to talk about this. I just haven't seen anybody else talk about this. Granted, I don't think I actually went and checked before I came up with the idea for this video. I just was like, nope, seen no one. I can talk, space for me. And what more do you want in life? Space for you. Okay. So this nomenon I'm dubbing the Six effect, which is hopefully going to reduce the amount of times I say the word nomenon in this video. The Six, for those of you who don't know, but I think most of you will, especially if you're into musical theatre, Six is a wildly popular modern musical all about Henry VIII's six wives and them retelling their story. I was really obsessed with this musical when I discovered it. I think in about 2016? No, it can't have been. No, I was into Hamilton in 2016. So a couple of years later. It'll be like 2019. Something along those lines. Quite a while ago. And I loved it. I was obsessed with it. I went to go see it live. I've got my CD here. It is amazing. It is still wrapped because I do not have a CD player, which is a bit of a fault of mine. I don't know why. I have got many musical CDs and I don't own a CD player. I have got, you know what, we're not going to go through my CD collection, but I love it. I saw it live and I adored it. It even made me like Heart of Stone, which I don't like on Spotify, but the actress I saw play it was absolutely amazing, and fucking hell, I love Broadway musicals. Like, just hats off to you. Like, damn, it's impressive. I Six is a very feminist musical, and I have no shame in saying that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Six does its feminism very well. I don't know why I'm putting it air quotes. I'm kind of perpetuating the point that I'm going to make later, which honestly hurts me. I apologize. I should not have done that. It perpetuates its point amazingly well without it seeming patronizing or coming across as, I don't know, shoving it down your throat. Aggressive feminism, I think, is the way that I phrased it in my original planning of this. Because I was talking to my partner about this beforehand, and they told me that they didn't recognize that Sixth in itself was inherently a feminist musical. And I'm not gonna lie, I was happy with that because it is. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing, and feminism itself is not a bad thing. There's a horrible demonization of the word, and I hate that. I also hate myself for, like I said, I felt bad because I did the air quotes earlier and perpetualized that stereotype. That's not what I meant to do. Shit. I'm just trying to reflect on the idea that Six itself is very subtle in its messaging. And I think that is a very good thing because it allows the musical to be inclusive. And this is something I want to touch on later when I talk about the problematic side to the Six effect. But Six has had a massive musical influence. I don't know if it was the first musical to do what it was doing, but it's definitely the biggest. And I adore it. Six did the Six effect amazingly, did it so perfectly. However, I think cheap copies of the Six effect, like the two musicals I'm going to discuss, are what are damaging to the message that Six is trying to portray. Okay, so I think there are three key factors when it comes to classifying a musical under the Six effect. The musical has to have feminist messaging. The costume design is really important. I adore the costume design in Six. I am a seamstress and I love it. I would sit there and dissect it for hours. They had a museum exhibition here somewhere in England, of the costume designs, and I was so disappointed that I couldn't go. They are absolutely amazing. It is so impressive. The work that has been done on them is gorgeous. And it has this very unique style, something that we see attempted to be replicated. And honestly, in the Six copies, I think the costume design is what they do best. And I just have to take my hat off to all of the people, amazing designers who have made these costumes possible because they are beautiful. So messaging, costume design, music style. Six is inherently meant to be, the setup for it is a concert. Actually, I'm going to add an extra one on here quickly. Meta. I think meta. Okay, maybe not. No, because I'm thinking about one of them on this list and it doesn't have meta in it. You know what? Yeah, I take meta off my list. Let's just stick to my main three. What was I talking about? Bloody hell. Sorry. My brain is broken. Costume design, messaging. Oh no, shit. Music style. Bloody hell. Sorry. And music style. Six in its setup is a pop concert by the six wives of Henry VIII, and their goal is they're all going to sing a song talking about their lives, and whoever had the most tragic life gets to be the leader. And they are all done in this modern pop aspect, very different to the pure Broadway songs that we're used to in musical theatre. Because while not all Broadway music sounds the same, because that is just completely inaccurate to say, all Broadway music has a style, I think. If you ask me for an amazing example of Broadway music, I'm going to point you to Sincerely Me from Dear Evan Hansen. It is the most Broadway sounding song that I've ever heard, and I adore it. There is no shade towards that musical. Dear Evan Hansen is very good, if slightly problematic. I still really like it. I am aware of its faults, And I am also aware that I kind of don't care, which is probably reflects badly on me, but it's a musical, it's not that deep. Which I know also is going to be contradictory to everything I'm going to talk about today. I have slight amounts of hypocritism. We're going with that. I don't think it's a word. I'm refusing to do any more stupid nominons. And Six sounds different. It sounds like a concert, and that works within the style of music. And I think that works in its favor, actually, to making it stand out from the rest of the influx of musicals that we were having during this time period. Okay. So, from what Six did well, Six did all of those things amazingly well. Like, really fucking well. And it's what made it blow up. It went on an international tour, and people loved it. I love it, and it's still probably held as one of the most standout musicals of our current modern time period, which I guess you'd put in the last 20 years, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. I picture everything after like 2010 to be modern. So I guess that's the last 15 years. But also that's probably with my age. And I just have quite a younger view of what counts as modern, which is probably a bit rude to say, but so the two copies, and I mean this, I don't mean to diminish any of the work that the people have done on these musicals. If you like them, that's amazing. And I recognised watching both of them that they are definitely somebody else's cup of tea. And honestly, I enjoyed watching both of them because, like I said, I'm a theatre whore. You put on some sparkly lights and some glitter, and I am fucking there. However, I also think both musicals themselves, in trying to replicate the Six Effect, have become problematic in their messaging, and thus I cannot enjoy them. I cannot enjoy them retrospectively, understanding the messaging behind both of them. So the two musicals I'm going to be talking about is Lizzie and Juliet. And Juliet I saw earlier this week actually, and it prompted me to make this video because it combined itself with Lizzie. Both musicals are very modern. Lizzie is actually an American musical. I don't know why. I thought it was a British musical. My original title for this video was going to be a phenomenon in British musicals, or the Sixth Effect, something that's taking over British musicals. But Lizzie is not a British musical. I just saw it in Britain, obviously. So my brain just went, oh, British musical. However, it is not. I thought it was just set in America. It actually is an American musical written by an American playwright. So I apologise, this is not just a British thing. It was just the other two that prompted my brain. Okay. So, I'm going to start with Lizzie and then I'll go to & Juliet. & Lizzie is a musical all about Lizzie Borden. You know the nursery rhyme? Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she thought that she was done, she gave her farm 41. I never grew up with this rhyme as a child. I'm aware of it, but I never grew up with it. Having quite gothic parents, I was like, oh yes. I'm aware of parent killers. I'm well educated in that kind of circle of life. However, I came into this musical completely blind, which I do quite often. If this is not a musical that I've already been obsessed with and I'm going to see, if it's like a present from somebody, I'll go into them blind. I do this with gigs as well, which probably isn't a good thing, but I don't know, my brain scrambled and I just, when it comes, it comes. I went into this musical completely blind. And I sat through it and I enjoyed it. As I watched it, it was a decent musical. The songs were good, some of them, and I didn't really think much of it. I have to admit, I did not like the ending, and I will talk on it when I get there. However, I need to be very clear now, it is a decent musical with good songs and good costume design. The costume design is very fun. That's one of the things I think all of the musicals all of the musicals I'm going to talk about today, The Six Effect has done costume design a world of wonders. One of my dreams as a child was to be a Broadway costume designer, and the fact that I'm probably never going to make that dream sits well with me because the costume design industry is in amazing fucking hands. I probably need to make more of an effort to learn of the people behind the scenes on this. And please, if you know who the costume directors are for these, please tell me because um I'm falling on ignorance here and it isn't a good thing, but their work is amazing and I'm so in awe of it. I might do a video where I just talk about costume design in musicals just so I can fangirl for a good period of time. But I digress. The costume design is amazing. And that is probably, unfortunately, where the prompts for where the pros for this musical end. Which I hate to say, it's a bit painful. But that's where we are. So, on to the cons and the negative parts of the Six Effect that this musical unfortunately heavily exemplifies. Lizzie doesn't do a very good job with its subtlety of its messaging, and I also believe it is a problematic musical in how it portrays fiction and reality. Lizzie itself is inherently a historical musical, and I am not saying I expect every musical playwright to be a historical genius. And I think that's fair. I've already gushed about Hamilton earlier on in this, and Hamilton has the world's biggest book of historical accuracies for a historical musical. And I overlook them. However, I will not say too much on Lizzie, because Lizzie was a real person, Lizzie Borden. She did actually murder her parents. But I will say there's a difference between having historical inaccuracies and the glorification of a murderer. Now, I don't know too much about Lizzie Borden herself, and I will be the first to put it out there. And I am not a historian, and I am just somebody who makes YouTube videos, and that is it. My qualifications come down to a 7 in GCSE history. And I mean, yeah, that's it. And we did not study Lizzie Borden, so ain't mean shit. However, she herself was a murderer. She existed and she killed her parents. That is borderline fact. And the musical seeks to portray her as a girl boss. And I hate the word girl boss. Only because of its distinct negative connotations in society, I'm now using it derogatorily. And I mean it in a derogatory way. Because Lizzie Borden is not presented as a deranged character. No, she is, but she isn't. And that's what makes it confusing. The messaging within the play makes it confusing. There is a song in the musical all about Lizzie Borden's essay by her father. Now, I don't know whether or not this is true. And it is a very harsh application to put out, considering the time period. It is likely, but I don't know if it's factual evidence. Honestly, I feel shitty saying this. I'm going to look this up, forgive me, because I actually don't know whether or not I can make my point if it's true or not. 2 seconds, I apologise. Yes, it is the official. I've done a bit of Googling. I can find no evidence that Lizzie herself was ever sexually assaulted by her father. And also more evidence, which I was coming on to, about the problematic queer messaging in the musical. I have no problem with queer messaging in any kind of media. I myself am bisexual, and I adore a bit of love. Love is love, whatever you want to do. However, my issue comes with when it is a historical musical about a murderer. Of course, I should clarify, Lizzie Borden was never found guilty. While it is publicly believed that she did murder her family, and I should probably rechange my languaging, an alleged murderer, she was found not guilty and acquitted by the US court. One one of the big plots in Lizzie is Lizzie's romantic relationship with her friend Nancy. And I found this whole segment uncomfortable because it felt forced. And I understand probably the director's intention behind this was very pure. Put in a romantic relationship, but it didn't feel like the musical to do it in, and thus it felt forced. And bad representation for queer people is horrible. If you can't do representation right, please don't do it at all, because you just damage our messaging. You damage the idea of us being a normal part of society because your representation feels forced. Lizzie did not need a romantic subplot, and by shoehorning a romantic subplot in, not only did you break up the flow of your musical, you made it queer, which makes people demonize the queerness. Because it's easier to latch on to saying something is bad because it is gay than to say something is bad because of bad writing. People love to demonize gay people. People love to demonize lesbians. And by pushing in a unnecessary lesbian plot, you are unnecessarily forcing those bad beliefs onto other people. And not forcing those bad beliefs, you're almost handing people the knife to stab you with. Now, I'm not saying we should avoid queer representation because it might be bad. I just think we need to recognize when a story needs a romantic relationship, and if it doesn't, don't add it in. Especially don't add one in if it's queer, because we are pushing, again, those negative titles. It's not even, again, it being gay is a lot less relevant than you may think. It was more the breakup of how it ruined the flow of the story, and ruined Lizzie's descent into madness. Because the musical portrays Lizzie Borden as guilty. There's no doubt about it. Lizzie Borden took an axe and she gave her mother 40 whacks. Father 40 whacks. When she thought she was done, she gave her mother 40 whacks, sorry. And she actively, in the musical, she murders her parents. That, because we are not taking the was she guilty, was she not stance, the musical should be more focused on Lizzie's madness. If you want to make her empathetic, focus on her trauma, not on her gay love, because her gay love isn't relevant. Whether or not Lizzie and Nancy were actually in a romantic relationship was only rumored and speculation. Most historical sources dub it as pure fanfic. However, it could be true. But it doesn't matter, because you are trying to make an audience empathize with a killer, and I am currently not empathizing with Lizzie Borden. I am currently not wanting her to get acquitted in this trial, because she doesn't seem too upset about it. That's the thing we don't focus on as well. Yes, it's said that Lizzie Borden was essayed by her father, and not inciting violence here, I should clarify. And in my opinion, if you kill your rapist, you have means ground, especially in the way that America is right now. Again, not inciting violence. Don't actually hurt people. But if that came to court, I'm not convicting you. Well, that's not true, I'm under oath, but I hope you get my meaning. Many people would agree that that is a reasonable grounds for murder. Again, pacifism, not inciting violence. However, many people would also say that it's of course not. And most people are still have a horrible conscience after killing somebody else. It is a horrible act to commit. It's not like oops, he's dead now, off we go, I'm gonna sing a song about Girl Power. That's not good representation or a good reasoning. It's just damaging to your cause and damaging to the point you're trying to make. By presenting Lizzie in a girl power way and not focusing on the acts that she committed, you are actively ruining your setup. You are actively demonizing yourself and your protagonist because we as the audience don't sympathize with Lizzie. Now I not in the nicest way possible. Now I want her to go to jail because I don't need to see her standing on top of a rolling platform singing about how happy she is she committed murder and I'm going to get away with it. Good for me. Like, now I don't like Lizzie because she's a bitch. Not that I don't empathize with her situation. And the intense, I did it because I'm a girl and I did it because I'm strong. The messaging isn't good. It's just weak. And I don't want to call it upsetting, but it kind of is. It's weak and passive and doesn't invoke anything good, just makes everything a bit meh. And I think that's the problem with bad representation. I love Six, but Lizzie Borden made me hate the exemplified reasons that were there in the first place. They've got the same message. That's inherently what they're doing. They are empowering women of the past and telling us their story. But they're not, but they do it in such different ways. One comes across as empowering and one comes across as rude and overall kind of condescending. And I don't want that kind of representation. We don't want that kind of representation. I think we need people to understand the plights and be hopeful, especially when something like this can be so easily latched onto. And it feels polarizing. And I'm going to talk about polarization in musicals with & Juliet. & Juliet is a British musical that has recently come to stages. I saw it in Milton Keynes a couple days ago. It is about what would happen if Juliet never died. And it is written from the point of view. It's got a meta stance to it. It says it's written by Shakespeare's wife. Now, I kind of already had problems with this when she walked on the stage, because Shakespeare was not a good husband. Shakespeare cheated on his wife a lot. It wasn't just that he was work obsessed. Yes, he was. But also, Shakespeare was not a good husband, so let's not start acting like he deserves war. Let's not start acting like he was a great one just because. But he can't. His little blunder was that he worked away too much. Because, you know, he wasn't. Shakespeare, while an amazing playwright, was not an amazing partner or person. Really, he was just good at playwrights. However, that's the premise of the musical. It's set in modern day. Again, a very common Six trope. Lizzie Borden isn't, I should clarify. I realised I didn't bring this up. Lizzie Borden is set in the historical time period, and the costume design is all pretty bog standard, of the time period until we get to the ending scene with her song about how she wants to get away with things and she's so excited to be free again or some shit. I don't know. Anyway. & Juliet is it's an interesting musical. Not all of the songs are original. Actually, most of the songs aren't original, which I don't have a problem with. I really like Moulin Rouge. That's got quite a lot of non-original songs in it. I think actually all the songs in Moulin Rouge aren't original. I might be wrong on that. I'm second guessing myself now. It's been a while since I've watched it. However, I was kind of hoping for more original music. You could tell that this was done by someone of my generation, though, because I found all the songs very nostalgic. They started playing Raw by Katy Perry, and I was just there and I was like, holy fucking shit. I have memories to this song. They did that and they did I Want It That Way a lot, which was good, but they weren't Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There was some kind of good nostalgia in hearing the songs that made up my childhood sung in a Broadway sense. It was combining the two things that I really do love, and that made me happy. And the costume design once again was fucking beautiful. I adored it. If you just want to nerd out about costume design, look at & Juliet, because they are doing something right, and that is so good. However, the messaging felt polarizing and problematic. And this is, again, I feel like I'm just repeating myself here, but I but I need to try and get my point across that bad feminist messaging hurts our feminism cause. And one of the things I hate about the different types and the way people present their views on feminism is polarization feminism, us versus them mentality. Because you are never going to get somebody to agree with you by kicking them in the face and telling them that they are bad. That's why I struggle to agree with violent protests as well. If I blow up your house and then tell you to believe me, you're not going to believe me. You're just going to be mad that I blew up your house and probably hate my cause even more because look what I've done. I've blown up your house. I don't. It's pointless, right? And telling men that they're bad and in the wrong is just stupid. Because one, we're ignoring the male victims who also need our help in SA cases, for example. Male rape is so high, it's ridiculous. It's just not talked about. And the only time it is talked about is when some people are trying to argue against female rape, which is just horrible. We can't weaponize that. And we are actively polarizing them by saying, oh no, but look, this is for the girls and the gays and the lays. Like, which I also hate the phrase because, again, it is polarization. We are putting people into boxes and pushing them away. We want equality. And we are, I can't believe we're saying this, we are scaring the men. we are scaring those in charge. Not right. I'm not saying they're in the right. I need to make this very clear. If you see something that is new and different to you, and you start to freak the fuck out, you are not in the right place. What I'm just saying is we have to accept that those people exist and find a way to change their minds instead of coming at them with pitchforks because they've got nukes. And we're not out nuking them with our pitchforks, glitter, and feather boas. Which I love and is fabulous. But I think we need to understand that society has pushed us in such a way. We're all a product of society in some way. And the world is being pushed and molded in this direction. That we need to understand, and empathize with those who don't understand what we want. Because many people are told that feminism is bad and feminism is coming for their jobs and feminism is going to ruin their way of life, which is not true. But you're not helping destigmatize that if you're just saying that they are the enemy. It doesn't matter whether or not you believe it. We need to be accepting of people and their views and accepting to change their minds. So this messaging that men are bad and that things that are not understood are bad, we're just as bad as they are. But we're hiding it behind our pretend inclusivity phrases. And we need to make that point. I think that's my big issue with these musicals and with this blatant attempt at the Six Effect. I'm sorry, I've not really talked much about & Juliet here, because really, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Because everything I had issues with basically were replicated in Lizzie. & Juliet had similar issues with problematic messaging. And a queer romance, which again felt less forced, a lot less forced than, what do you call it? A lot less forced than Lizzie and Nancy, but still not too much out of place, actually. You know what? No, I take that back. Yes, Juliet's queer romance actually was probably put in. It had very Heartstopper vibes. I was a bit confused with one of the trans song in it specifically. I'm Not a Girl, I think it's called. Only because the actor who was playing them was very androgynous, which of course isn't a bad thing. But I thought we'd already established earlier on in the musical that they went by they, them pronouns, and that's how I was referring to them in my head. Also, I just didn't like the song. That's not, it just didn't hit for me. Nothing about the messaging for that one, yeah, it felt a bit out of place, but again, maybe other people would have taken the actor and been like, oh yes, that is a female actor. But in my own mind, they were very androgynous already, so I don't know. Sorry. Thank you. I think I'm gonna tie it up here. I hope this has been enjoyable. I hope you have an amazing week. Please feel free to question anything I've said. I am so grateful you've taken the time to listen to me, and I hope you understand and my points I've got across. Honestly, I'm really grateful for everything that I've managed to say, and I hope my points have been coherent. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a great week. You are worthy of love and affection, and this is always a safe space. Okay, bye. I love you.